It illuminated the entire forest with a blinding white light. The upper body of the object is equipped with a red light on top and a blue light strip underneath. It hovers or possibly has legs. That is the account of witnesses regarding a strange object they had seen with their own eyes in the Rendlesham Forest. These descriptions perfectly match what we commonly refer to as unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Following the 1947 Roswell incident, the event in the Rendlesham Forest remains another notable case of an alleged alien encounter. What is drawing an increasing number of UFO enthusiasts to this forest? With countless accounts and multifaceted perspectives, how did the truth ultimately unfold? So what exactly did the witnesses see? An alien spacecraft? Or is it just a misunderstanding? Could this event be compared to the Roswell incident? Get ready, because right after this, we'll explore the answer together in this video. Britain's Roswell. Let's turn back the clock and return to England on December 26, 1980. It was a chilly winter evening in the Rendlesham Forest of Hart, Suffolk. Ipswich town is located about 13 kilometers to the east of here. This approximately 15 square kilometer Melaleuca forest is under the management of the Provincial People's Committee. Here are two former military bases, the Royal Air Force Base RAF Ben Warders to the north and RAF Goodbridge to the west. No one could have anticipated that such an ostensibly safe place would become the site of an incident that shocked the entire world. Yes, what's the matter? That day, a security patrol team at RAF Goodbridge, a base used by the US Air Force during the Cold War, was carrying out its routine duties. Among them were Jim Peniston and Officer John Baruch, who were currently on duty at the main gate of the base. Suddenly, against the dark winter sky, strange and unusually dazzling red rays of light appeared, piercing through the treetops in the Rendlesham Forest. Peniston and Baruch were utterly astonished, but they immediately reported the incident to the commanding officer. They confirmed that an object, resembling a downed aircraft, had appeared on a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest. Immediately, Peniston and Baruch were ordered to investigate what they had witnessed. With the jeep, they quickly arrived at the place and could not help but be amazed to witness the strange things with their own eyes. A mysterious luminous object descended from within the forest. It was approximately 3 meters tall, 3 meters wide, and shaped like a triangular metal block. The object's shell is quite similar to a type of black glass, but has a more matte and smooth surface. The statue's body is also engraved with strange characters that resemble hieroglyphics. As Peniston was observing the object, it suddenly took off at a speed so high that it defied all known laws of physics. End there. Despite moving at an incredible speed, it didn't. I had to admit, the guy was utterly astonished. But that wasn't the end of it. That strange object flew toward a warehouse. Its blinding light caused massive destruction to the farm and sent the animals into a panic. Burroughs and Peniston gave chase, climbed over a fence, and watched in amazement as the red and blue lights vanished. And the object seemed to dissolve into space. Returning in a state of extreme bewilderment, both had to meticulously weigh every word when drafting the report on the dance and laughter incident. So what exactly did they see? And why did it spread so rapidly? And perhaps, because they did not believe those testimonies, the commander decided to fabricate a false version. A mechanical object emitting red, blue, and white light has appeared. However, the device vanished just before it could be clearly observed. Are they mixed up with each other? To this day, humanity still lacks the capability to create such a wondrous object. Of course, they definitely didn't see that wrong. The next day, Peniston returned to the scene and discovered 3 small, strange triangular marks imprinted on the ground. Each mark was spaced 3 meters apart, matching the width of the object he had measured earlier. Surrounding those strange traces were even burn marks. A short while later, the local police arrived. They attempted to follow the trail, believing it was very likely caused by some kind of animal. However, the deeper the investigation went, the more obscure and perplexing everything became. All the participants in the investigation also noticed something very strange. Something just appeared in the Rendlesham Forest. If only Penistons and Borat had witnessed the incident, this story could never have become famous worldwide. And that strange monster seemed to have unfinished business in the Rendlesham Forest, so it returned one more time. And this time, once again, many people witnessed the incident. and those involved in the object of the investigation have become truly obscure. And this time, once again, many people witnessed the incident. Just 2 days later, on December 28, 1980, the Deputy District Chief arrived at the British airbase. "We, Charles Halt, have just received a report of a strange ceremonial object at the RAF Goodbridge Royal Air Force Base." He felt extremely skeptical and shared the same doubts as most people at that time. In the end, what did Penistons and Borat see? That thought left Halt with no way out. Besides postponing dinner, he personally set out to investigate the incident in the Rendlesham Forest. He assembled a team of staff equipped with floodlights, night vision lights, recording devices, and radiation detectors, ready to document any developments. At the crime scene, Trung Kai ordered the installation of barriers around the area to prevent the public from coming into contact with the radiation source. Fearing a sudden bridge inspection, the headlights malfunctioned, forcing the entire team to work with equipment as if in complete darkness. However, it was precisely this change that led them to discover the colored heat marks on the trees, creating thermal signs. And then, what Halt and the entire team had been searching for all this time finally appeared. The object, believed to be non-terrestrial in origin, came from the south, flying at an incredible speed and emitting a brilliant red light through the tree canopies. It was an object hovering in the sky, which may or may not have had landing supports. They attempted to observe the phenomenon occurring as a strange beam of light shone down upon the ground. An immense amount of heat seems to have been generated, to the extent that everything in the path of the flying object was completely incinerated. In Halt's memory, 3 sparkling stars appeared in the sky. Among them, 2 stars are located in the north, while the remaining star is in the south, positioned at an angle of approximately 10 degrees above the horizon. Those strange black beams of light hovered in the air for about 2 to 3 hours, then continued to shine throughout the forest, before finally vanishing into nothingness. Halt was utterly astonished, and he was certain that those shimmering castles could not possibly be a mirage. Early the next morning, Halt returned with the investigation team to clarify the unbelievable things he had witnessed with his own eyes. On the ground and the surrounding area remained triangular indentations, identical to the marks that Barrett and Penistone had seen before. Halt's staff used standard U.S. military radiation detection equipment to conduct a more thorough examination of the traces. Surprisingly, the radiation level they measured reached 0.07 millirengens per hour, while in other areas, this figure only fluctuated between 0.03 and 0.04 millirengens per hour. Furthermore, they discovered a similar small explosion, located just over half a mile from the object's landing site. In solidarity, I have shared my story with the Office of Special Investigations, OSI, and hope the truth will soon come to light. He recorded a 20-minute tape detailing his eyewitness account, and a few days later, wrote an additional report to send to the Ministry of Defense. Subsequently, Halt's recording and report were made public. The case quickly gained fame, drawing large crowds to the scene to investigate and analyze the sighting of the strange object in the Rendlesham Forest. What on earth is that? Where does that strange light source originate? And for what purpose does that mysterious object repeatedly appear in the Rendlesham Forest? Those who believed Halt and the witnesses had seen a UFO launched an investigation. Shortly thereafter, several puzzling discrepancies emerged between Halt's report and a recorded tape along with the testimony of an anonymous informant. A man claiming to be a hunter asserts that he witnessed a highly unusual phenomenon in the Rendlesham Forest. They launched their investigation based on Halt's report, an audio recording, and the testimony of an anonymous informant. A man claiming to be a hunter asserts that he witnessed a highly unusual phenomenon in the Rendlesham Forest. Larry Warren, who was only 18 at the time, was the very person we just mentioned. At approximately 11 p.m. on December 28, 1980, Larry and his team exited their truck and proceeded toward the area where they had seen the strange object. He saw the disaster prevention officers holding Geiger counters in their hands. This is a specialized electronic device used to detect and measure ionizing radiation, widely applied in the nuclear industry. While monitoring the situation, Larry himself was the one who directly witnessed the object appearing twice in the Rendlesham Forest. It swooped down in a steep arc at high speed, then came to a complete stop and hovered above the ground at an altitude of about 6 meters. And that triangular mass emitted its own light, the same red and blue light that had been reported earlier. However, people did not stop their attention there, for the sun then became strangely darkened, looking even more terrifying. The beam of light suddenly vanished. When a strange aircraft appeared, Larry observed it closely and was certain it was not a plane. It had no windows nor anything else, looking exactly like a strange block of metal. At the same time, Larry was discovered by the stabilization team and forced to retreat. From a distance, they managed to see a creature emerge from the ship, coming face to face with the army. It also has eyes, knows how to wear clothes, and is equipped with several other devices. T sure what it was, but Larry was quite confident in asserting that it wasn't. He knew nothing more about the incident until 4:30 a.m., when the strange ship he had seen suddenly took off, rising at a 45-degree angle with astonishing speed. Blink, and you'll miss that moment. T hear any sound from the boat. Larry truly couldn't believe his eyes after everything that had just happened. All three witnesses who observed the unusual object in the Rendlesham Forest had notably consistent points in their testimonies. However, there are also quite a few strange, even contradictory pieces of information. So what is the actual story? At that time, what was happening in England? The fee for the boat is not included in Antin's payment. Airplane, or something along those lines. Very quickly, the matter attracted the attention and concern of the imperial court. Nearly half of the letters about UFOs sent to the Ministry of Defense revolve around the incident in the Rendlesham Forest and refute the claims regarding the defense of the disciples' camp. The stance of the Ministry of National Defense is consistent and has not changed. They concluded that no evidence of any unidentified object was found, nor was there any threat to the United Kingdom. For that very reason, no further investigation was conducted. This case has been officially closed. This is Nick Pope. From 1985 to 2006, she worked at the Ministry of National Defense. He was tasked with investigating UFO-related incidents and decided to reopen the Rendlesham case in 1993. Nick used to evaluate hundreds of UFO sighting cases every year. And Rendlesham's case is among the 5% of UFO encounters that cannot be satisfactorily explained. The most remarkable aspect of this meeting was the verified evidence provided by the witnesses. However, the situation ultimately remained at an impasse. Nick further explained that the indentations on the ground were the remnants of where military aircraft had once landed. And what about the burn marks and traces of radiation detected on Rendlesham Street? How do you explain those? Is there any reasonable way to explain this? Nick stated that the radiation levels appeared to be significantly higher than average. But that doesn't mean it came from an alien spacecraft. Therefore, a definitive conclusion cannot be reached about this unidentified flying object. He believes the most plausible explanation is that the spacecraft was actually a secret prototype drone. However, Nick's explanation made no mention of the red and blue lights that the witnesses had described. Particularly, the spacecraft's extreme speed and its ability to move in complete silence remain inexplicable. How did people in the dawn of aviation, when drones had not yet appeared, manage to build machines with such astonishing speed? Even today, there is no airplane that can fly so fast it disappears from sight in the blink of an eye. And of course, most aircraft engines produce sound, so they cannot match the witnesses' descriptions. Could it be that the witnesses were mistaken? This hypothesis has also been raised and thoroughly examined. Most likely, in the darkness, the witnesses mistook that strange light for something utterly familiar and commonplace. Can you guess what it is? The Rendlesham Hotel is located approximately 16 to 18 kilometers southeast of the O'Farns Lighthouse, where the beacon continues to quietly carry out its solitary duty of illumination. Built in 1792, this lighthouse has become a significant symbol in maritime history. With a height of approximately 35 meters, its light can be seen from as far as 29 kilometers away. Therefore, from the very beginning, the witnesses were confused about the incident. In the Hart team's recording on December 28, he himself had also seen a strange beam of light, in the same direction as the light Boris had witnessed the previous day. Moreover, it flashes every 5 seconds. This is also the exact flashing rate of the O'Farns Lighthouse. However, once again, this hypothesis also places little emphasis on scientific explanations. When an incident involving aliens occurs, according to the research findings, the lighthouse light may not have been the main cause of the incident. You probably still remember the terrifying stories from the witnesses, don't you? The object they saw was an unidentified foreign object with an unusual shape and anomalous behavior. Furthermore, the light witnessed by the observers had color and motion, and was not stationary like a lighthouse beam. Therefore, there is no convincing evidence to support this interpretation. A drone, nor was it the O. From another perspective of memory, there is also the opinion that our sergeant was in fact a man. From another perspective, there is also the opinion that the sergeant and the witnesses saw a Soviet wind reconnaissance satellite. At that time, the Soviet Union and the Western countries were once again in a state of war. The enhancement of reconnaissance and surveillance activities in the military and space technology sectors is an essential requirement. Particularly at that time, the Soviet Union had developed reconnaissance satellites capable of photographing and gathering information from outer space. Perhaps because that love was so carefully disguised to remain hidden, it took on the bizarre form described by Boros and Penistons. These unusual bright images result from the satellite's data collection activities or new technology testing. When discovered by the British military, it quickly fled. This hypothesis also helps explain the origin of the indentations with radioactive traces. The Dung-Randerson area is one of the key zones connected to NATO's military bases and nuclear testing facilities. Therefore, the appearance of radiation signs is understandable. The unique position of this region makes the mucus-based platform extremely sensitive to anomalous phenomena, particularly its ability to detect extraterrestrial life. That sounded reasonable, so investigators and researchers proceeded to test this hypothesis. However, the final result they obtained was still zero. There is no specific evidence confirming that the phenomenon was caused by a Soviet spy satellite. Additionally, reconnaissance satellites typically follow fixed orbits and cannot maneuver as flexibly as described by the witnesses. One hypothesis remains unexplained. All scientific explanations seem to fail to convince the majority of those following this incident. No single hypothesis can connect all the evidence to form a unified answer. So could this just be a hoax? In December 2018, a man named David Clark made a statement. Trying to stop Randerson was a revenge plot by the SAS task force. SAS is the elite special forces unit of the United Kingdom, and USAF is the abbreviation for the United States Air Force. Both forces come from allied nations and have a long history of cooperation across numerous campaigns, particularly in counter-terrorism missions and wartime operations. However, according to some unofficial sources, the SAS is alleged to have infiltrated the Royal Air Force Ben Waters base while it was still under U.S. Air Force management. This occurred during a security screening, but they were detected and apprehended before they could carry out the act. The SAS soldiers were brutally interrogated and beaten, accompanied by horrific verbal abuse. Angered by the actions of the U.S. military, the SAS planned a retaliation. That was the strange object the village elders had seen, along with the mysterious red lights that always appeared in the Rendlesham Forest. Essentially, it was Haley Den's balloon connected to remote-controlled kites, designed to carry materials suspended in the air and activated via a controller. This incident alarmed the United States Air Force, USAF, while also sparking conspiracy theories about aliens and UFOs, causing public anxiety. You really deserve credit for devising such a vicious revenge plan. However, when Clark began investigating, he discovered numerous inconsistencies, leading him to realize it was merely an extremely sophisticated deception. This anecdotal story lacks any verifiable evidence, making it impossible to state with certainty that a specific conflict between the SAS and USAF ever existed as a result of the recounted event. In reality, these two military forces still maintain close cooperative relations in many global activities, so there is absolutely no truth to the rumors of retaliation. So all scientific hypotheses have been refuted, but the real answer still remains open. Are we heading in the wrong direction? Has something important been overlooked? T discussed Larry Warren, a tale even more mysterious, far beyond any previously mentioned conjecture. A creature with a bizarre appearance emerged from the lazy object. They probably already guessed what we. Witnesses affirm that they saw extraterrestrial beings with their own eyes. You are looking at a portrait of UFO researcher Dr. David Clark. He was among those who believed that extraterrestrials appeared at the Rendlesham Room in 1980. David examined Larry's testimony and discovered many suspicious points. Larry claimed that he had been brainwashed and forced to watch UFO movies. From then on, Larry would become close and familiar, just like an ordinary person. From that moment on, the press would view Larry as nothing short of a madman, and his story would be dismissed by them. Could it be that what Larry witnessed was the truth, and the military and government tried to prevent him from revealing it for some reason? Therefore, David believes that the British and US governments have concealed an intelligently controlled object with advanced technology in their research. However, despite having all the evidence in hand, David still could not reach a definitive conclusion. Following David, due to doubts about its authenticity, an independent investigation group named BG STEC was formed. This group later returned to the crime scene that very same year. They hiked several kilometers across the ice to reach the site, which was believed to have witnessed the appearance of aliens. After many days of searching, the group finally achieved their goal. Before their eyes, brilliant lights emanating from a distant place within the forest suddenly appeared. All 5 of them were utterly astonished, for at that moment, there wasn't a single bird, squirrel, or any other wild animal to be seen. However, since the images obtained were unclear, the entire group decided to return the following night. They positioned the camera toward the area where the strange light appeared, then continued walking several more kilometers to observe the entire zone as comprehensively as possible. This time, we were not disappointed. A UFO was seen moving back and forth through the forest and was captured on video with remarkable clarity. Especially at that moment, an A-3 helicopter emerged from the airfield, appearing and circling right above the group's heads. It appears that the authorities are also monitoring the strange lights in the forest, but they are concerned that any evidence collected would be immediately confiscated. The whole group decided to leave the forest and would return the following morning. Belief in the witnesses. That is exactly the triangular indentations. To prove they weren't lying, the investigative team released the full video of the UFO valley in the Rendlesham Forest. This has led many people around the world to believe that aliens have indeed appeared in this area and that the government is deliberately covering up the truth. After the findings of the Gothic group's investigation were widely publicized, the stories of strange objects in the Rendlesham Forest suddenly became a hot topic of conversation. In the 1980s, air traffic control personnel at the former RAF Benwaters base also disclosed many other highly noteworthy details. At that time, they were using a short-range sight with a 60-yard range to carry out the mission. Suddenly, an object moving at thousands of kilometers per hour streaked across their scope in a mere 2 to 3 seconds. It returned to the Rendlesham Forest and then stopped near a waterfall. Air traffic control personnel observed and tracked it until the object flew straight into the forest. Why did it take so long for the witnesses to finally dare to reveal what they had truly seen? Simply because in the 1980s, whenever there was an announcement about a UFO appearance, all of their reports were immediately dismissed without any satisfactory explanation. This immediately reminded many people of the 1947 Roswell incident in the United States. Although the on-site evidence and witness testimonies clearly indicate signs of extraterrestrial beings entering Earth, the final conclusion still cannot confirm this. So what is the cause? Could it be that the government is hiding information related to UFOs? The inability to provide any explanation, despite the matter receiving more attention than ever, is the clearest evidence for this theory. You probably still remember the famous Roswell incident from back in the day. An unidentified flying object crashed on a farm and was quickly recovered by the US military. Even a witness picked up a fragment of that object. However, all the strangeness was dispelled by the final conclusion. It was simply a meteorological phenomenon. From that point, the incident became a hot topic of lively discussion on Twitter, with many people believing the government was covering up the truth about aliens. Similarly, the Rendlesham case was also considered non-justiciable. This matter cannot be ignored, yet it is also genuinely difficult to resolve decisively. This matter cannot be ignored, but it also cannot be handled rashly without careful thought. For the same reason, the Rendlesham case was also deemed unverifiable. This makes you and me unable to help but question it. Is it possible that the government and military are aware of the existence of UFOs but are deliberately concealing the information from the public? Given the sensitive location of the Rendlesham area, it is understandable that the government has not disclosed any information. UFO prayer. I also believe the truth is being concealed. While filming at this mysterious rest stop, he always had the feeling that something strange was going on. Simpson discovered that the underground tunnels had been sealed off. He asked the Forest Management Unit to use a four-wheel drive vehicle to tow one of those doors. Inside, a staircase leading downward suddenly appeared, resembling an entrance to the airport's drainage system. However, in reality, things are not that simple at all. The RAF Goodbridge and RAF Ben Waters military bases are connected to each other through this tunnel system. This is not entirely surprising, as many military bases have underground facilities, especially in areas related to nuclear weapons. Simpson also shared that he had heard about a strange discovery at the Ben Waters military base. Due to being in a private area, some buildings there have been made available for rent. A local company needed to reorganize their internet cable system, so they contacted a team of telecommunications technicians. When they checked their task, they discovered special cables. It lies nearly a meter deep underground, and those are cables from the 1980s. At that time, it was impossible for people to have such a modern, high-quality connection. This made Simpson suspicious. The technology at this military base has advanced far beyond what humanity knew and possessed in 2015. What is the truth here, after all? Could this be a military cover-up at a nuclear facility? Or something even more concerning? Regarding the famous UFO sighting that year in the Rendlesham Forest, Simpson himself, along with many others, believes the military was aware of the existence of extraterrestrials. Even the advancement and modernization of telecommunication cables could be attributed to extraterrestrial beings who brought them to humanity. Therefore, when the witnesses revealed the story that year, the government completely denied it to protect the aliens. In return, the military acquired advanced technologies that surpassed those of their Soviet rivals at the time and even exceed those of many countries in the world today. If this hypothesis is correct, the unidentified object with its blue and red lights, or even the creature that Larry witnessed, could all be plausibly explained. At the same time, this is also an affirmation of the existence of extraterrestrial life. In fact, they even appeared right on Earth and assisted humanity in its technological development. So what is the truth, after all? Various hypotheses have been put forward to explain it, ranging from scientific explanations to baseless rumors. However, in the end, we still cannot say with 100% certainty what the object the witnesses saw actually was. All the available evidence is merely testimony from the officers. The authenticity of these published video recordings has not yet been verified. Therefore, you and I will likely never uncover the truth behind the Rendlesham processor with any certainty. Researchers and UFO believers claim that an unidentified flying object, UFO, landed in the forest on December 2, 1980. There are also skeptical opinions suggesting that, in reality, there is no such thing as UFOs or extraterrestrial beings. It is all merely a product of human imagination. The 1947 Roswell incident had a profound and lasting impact on humanity's perception. The exact events of that night are entirely explained by the aforementioned scientific theories. There is nothing more to it than that. In the absence of substantial evidence supporting either side, it is difficult to reach a definitive conclusion, and the debate is likely to persist. Given the differences in perspectives and conflicting statements, I believe it is difficult for us to know the full truth about this matter. After all the events that occurred in the Rendlesham Forest, even I find it hard to believe. However, the final outcome is something that can be easily predicted, as there have been too many documented reports of UFOs and aliens. Inexplicable, and the conclusions drawn are unconvincing. The most intriguing event is undoubtedly the 1947 Roswell incident. We still cannot rush to conclusions about what these strange objects and the light beams witnessed by observers ultimately are. You can believe in one of the above hypotheses, or you can also wait for new conclusions to be published in the future. The Rendlesham Forest has shown the world a terrifying earthquake. The story contains many highly engaging and dramatic plot points. The witnesses' statements painted a contradictory story. What is that airplane? And where is that light always shining from? Did it come from the Alphaness lighthouse? That must have been a calculated revenge plan. Or if we consider it from Theodomius's perspective, could those phenomena be signs indicating the presence of aliens? Everyone has their own interpretation, and I believe you will have your own hypothesis as well. In your opinion, which explanation is the most convincing? Do you have any other questions or would you like to learn more about anything? Share your thoughts so everyone can discuss and reach satisfactory answers. Finally, thank you all for your support, and I hope to continue having the team by my side. As for the goodbye and farewell, I'll end the video here. See you all in the next episodes. Wishing everyone a pleasant day.